What if something you've done without thinking, something society taught you was normal, was actually blocking divine protection from your life? What if heaven has been watching your reactions to certain encounters, and those moments were not accidents, but tests? Today's message is not for everyone. It's for the chosen one who senses that God speaks through signs most people ignore. Stay with me because the final animal is the one almost everyone gets wrong, and that mistake carries spiritual consequences. Chosen one, God created nothing without purpose, not a breath, not a movement, not a living creature that crosses your path without meaning, order, and intention woven into it long before you were born. Yet most people walk through life unaware, reacting instead of discerning, destroying what they do not understand, rejecting what makes them uncomfortable, and fearing what heaven quietly placed as a sign. And that is why this message is not for the masses. This is not superstition. This is not folklore. This is not fear-based thinking. This is spiritual discernment at a level only the chosen are meant to access. Because God has revealed that there are 4 animals a chosen one must never kill, not because of weakness, not because of emotion, but because awareness protects what ignorance destroys. Their presence is directly connected to spiritual alignment, divine protection, and instruction that does not come in words. And today, these animals will be revealed one by one, not rushed, not mixed, not confused, but unveiled in the exact order heaven intends. So listen with precision, not curiosity alone, because one of these signs may already be appearing around you right now, testing your perception without you realizing it. The first animal is the dove, gentle but not weak, quiet but never absent, and often ignored because it does not demand attention. Yet its meaning is ancient, unmistakable, and deeply encoded into the spiritual memory of creation itself. This is the animal heaven uses when God chooses to come close without overwhelming you. Because not every divine moment arrives with thunder, some arrive wrapped in stillness. This animal represents peace that cannot be manufactured, purity that cannot be imitated, and divine nearness that cannot be forced. Throughout sacred history, it has appeared at the exact moments when heaven wanted to restore, not punish, to reconcile, not accuse, to cover, not expose. Which is why its presence is never accidental, when it comes near your home, when it settles without fear, when it lingers instead of fleeing. Something unseen is aligning. Because chaos never moves gently and fear never arrives calmly. Only peace does, and peace is not passive. Peace is ordered power. For the chosen one, this animal is a living reminder that God's presence does not rush, does not shout, and does not compete for attention. It arrives quietly and waits to see if you are spiritually aware enough to notice. Most people miss this moment because they are conditioned to believe that divine intervention must feel dramatic. But heaven does not perform for human expectation. It reveals itself to those who can recognize stillness without confusion. And this is why killing this animal out of irritation, impulse, or discomfort is not a small act. It is the rejection of a visitation you did not know how to interpret. It is closing a door that was never forced open. This animal teaches the chosen one something critical that very few ever learn. That heaven approaches with intention, not intrusion, with patience, not pressure, with clarity, not chaos. The second animal is the bee, small enough that most people underestimate it without a second thought. Yet its impact is massive in ways that cannot be replaced or replicated. Because heaven does not measure importance by size, it measures by function. And this creature exists to build life where others only consume it. Most people see it as a nuisance because it interrupts comfort, invades personal space, or demands awareness. But heaven sees it as a master builder, a living system of order, precision, and purpose operating without applause. This animal embodies discipline in motion, structure without rigidity, silent work that never asks to be seen, and spiritual productivity that multiplies far beyond what the eye can track. It produces sweetness not for itself, never hoards, and never seeks recognition. Everything it creates is meant to nourish others. And that alone already reveals why this animal is a test for the chosen one, because your calling follows the same pattern. Long before power becomes visible, there is a season of unseen labor, repetition, patience, and alignment that no one celebrates. And this animal appears when heaven is reminding you that nothing meaningful is built in chaos. For the chosen one, its presence is not about inconvenience, it is about timing. It shows up when you are tempted to rush, to skip steps, or to demand results before foundations are finished. Destroying this animal is not just an action. It is a spiritual signal of impatience, a rejection of the process God uses to shape authority. Because divine timing is not slow, it is precise, and precision requires restraint. This animal moves with intention, follows order, obeys an internal design it did not invent, and never questions its role. Respecting it aligns you with heaven's rhythm, because heaven moves in systems, not impulses, in cycles, not shortcuts. The third animal is the owl, which enters the misunderstood territory where fear replaces discernment and myths are mistaken for truth. This animal has carried the weight of distortion for generations, surrounded by false beliefs, whispered stories, and inherited suspicion. Yet heaven never created anything evil. Heaven creates function, balance, and purpose. This animal was designed to operate in realms most humans forget exist. It symbolizes vigilance that does not panic, discernment that does not rush, and spiritual awareness that does not announce itself. It observes before acting, because reaction reveals immaturity, while observation reveals mastery. It senses shifts before they manifest, because not all danger arrives visibly. Some danger announces itself through atmosphere, tension, and silence. It knows when to stay and when to move because wisdom is not movement. Wisdom is timing. For the chosen one, this animal appears during seasons when spiritual alertness is required, moments when distractions increase, when emotional noise rises, or when subtle compromises begin knocking quietly instead of violently. Here is where most people misunderstand the sign. They think fear means danger. But fear often means ignorance. This animal does not appear to threaten you. It appears to remind you that something unseen is active, something subtle is unfolding, and something requires awareness rather than reaction. To destroy it out of fear is to silence a reminder God placed nearby, saying, "Stay watchful, stay discerning, stay awake." Because not every attack is external, and not every test looks dramatic. Some tests come disguised as comfort, familiarity, or routine. This animal is sensitive to those shifts. It reacts not to what is visible, but to what is misaligned. The fourth animal is the spider, the one most people despise instinctively. It is mocked without thought, avoided without reflection, and destroyed without hesitation, not because it is dangerous, but because it does not fit the image of what humans respect. Yet heaven values it deeply, precisely because it exposes a truth most people spend their entire lives running from. This animal represents humility that is not performative, transformation that is not instant, and spiritual work that remains hidden even when it is essential. It lives unseen because its purpose does not require applause. It transforms quietly because real change never needs witnesses. It serves without beauty or recognition because heaven does not reward appearances. It rewards alignment. This animal becomes the greatest test of all for the chosen one because it appears during seasons of inner change. Moments when the ego is being stripped layer by layer, when identity feels unstable, or when old versions of you are dissolving, but the new one has not yet fully formed. Those moments are uncomfortable by design because transformation is not flattering, it is disorienting. Most people reject what mirrors that discomfort back to them. Killing this animal symbolizes the rejection of humility. It is the refusal to sit with what feels small, awkward, unfinished, or unseen. It is the desire to only honor what looks impressive, polished, or powerful. But honoring this creature reflects alignment with God's way of transformation. Because God does not build destiny through instant elevation, He builds it through hidden reshaping, slow refinement, and silent correction. This animal teaches the hardest lesson of all, that God often works most powerfully through what the world considers insignificant or disposable. Connect these signs now, immersed in not res, ponds, not to intellectuous, but to who you are being. What you've been hearing is not a list, it is a sequence. And sequences reveal intention. Each animal reflects a core principle, not as theory, but as lived instruction. The dove teaches you how God arrives. The bee teaches you how God builds. The owl teaches you how God protects. The spider teaches you how God transforms. These are not random lessons placed side by side. They are pillars, and pillars are load bearing. Remove one, and the structure weakens. Ignore one, and the path destabilizes. This is the pattern God wants the chosen one to see. Because your journey was never meant to be chaotic, it was designed to mature you in stages. God uses creation to teach what language often fails to transmit. Because words can be debated, but symbols cannot. When you respect life, not emotionally but discerningly, your spirit becomes more sensitive, your perception sharpens, your intuition deepens, and you begin noticing guidance before confusion, even forms. But when you destroy without discernment, something subtle happens. Spiritual perception dulls. Not as punishment, but as a natural consequence. Because awareness and violence cannot coexist, one cancels the other. This is where most people unknowingly drift. They believe faith is loud belief, but faith is actually trained awareness. The chosen one is not called to fear creation. Fear collapses understanding. The chosen one is called to understand it, because understanding creates alignment and alignment creates protection. Look at the order again. Presence comes before discipline. Discipline comes before vigilance. Vigilance comes before humility, and humility prepares you for elevation. This is not coincidence. This is divine architecture. God does not reveal patterns to impress you. He reveals them to prepare you. And here is the moment that should make you pause. If one of these principles feels harder to accept than the others, that resistance is diagnostic. Resistance highlights the area currently under construction within you. Heaven exposes what it intends to refine, not to shame you, but to invite your cooperation. This is why the signs came through animals, not people. Animals do not manipulate. They do not perform. They simply are. Their presence bypasses the ego, forcing honesty, forcing reflection, and forcing a choice. The choice is always the same. React or discern, rush or align, destroy or understand. Most people never realize they are being trained because training does not announce itself. It reveals itself through repetition, timing, and subtle tests of response. And now comes the weight of it all. Once a pattern is revealed, neutrality disappears. Awareness changes responsibility. What you do next matters more than what you've done before, because now you see it. And seeing is irreversible. What follows this realization is the most important part of the entire message. Understanding the pattern is not the end, it is the threshold. What happens after the threshold determines whether the chosen one steps fully into alignment or walks away carrying knowledge without transformation. Chosen one, understand this clearly. This message was never about animals. It was about awareness, about how you respond when God chooses to speak without sound. When heaven communicates without spectacle. When instruction arrives wrapped in simplicity instead of force. Because God does not compete with noise. He waits for discernment. Heaven is watching how you treat what seems small, overlooked, inconvenient, or unimpressive. Because the way you handle the smallest signs reveals how prepared you are to carry the weight of a great destiny. Destiny does not begin with thunder, it begins with perception, and perception is a responsibility, not just a gift. From this day forward, pay attention not with fear, which blinds, but with reverence, which sharpens. God does not shout at the chosen. He whispers through signs, through moments most people rush past, through encounters others dismiss. And now you know how to listen not with your ears, but with your spirit. This is the moment where something shifts inside you. Once awareness is activated, you cannot unsee what you now recognize. And that is not a burden, that is a calling. It is a calling to move differently, to respond intentionally, and to walk through creation with discernment instead of impulse. If this message awakens something in you, do not ignore it. Alignment is not passive. It is something you must maintain. Stay aligned in your thoughts, in your reactions, and in your choices. Because once your eyes open, nothing in creation will ever look ordinary again. Every moment becomes a signal. Every encounter carries weight. Every response matters. This is your charge. Walk with awareness, move with intention. Honor what God places in your path. Write, I am aware, as a declaration, because awareness is the doorway to authority, and authority belongs to those who recognize when heaven is speaking. Stay ready, stay discerning, stay awake, because the chosen one who listens quietly is the one heaven trusts loudly. This is not the end, this is your activation. Carry it, live it, and let it change the very fabric of your journey. You are being positioned for something greater than you can imagine. And it starts with the respect you show to the life God has placed around you.